Hey everyone, welcome back to the Jays for Down podcast. I'm your host Jaden, back today with another episode as we are going to be talking about the Green Bay Packers today and the whole Aaron Rodgers dilemma. As it seems like we are every single offseason, especially the past couple of years. So we'll dive into that and what the Packers need to do to make the playoffs and win a Super Bowl at some point. That's what they want to do. That's what they've been trying to do since they've done it back 12 years ago. And that's what they want to do. So we're going to get into that and more here on the podcast today. But make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends. We're right here on YouTube, also on every podcast platform you can think of. So you can stream us there. Jace with Down podcast. Just look us up. We're right there. You can check us out. So today, I basically want to touch on Aaron Rodgers for a little bit and the Packers. Again, a subject that has really just been, glorified over the past maybe 3 or 4 off seasons. Aaron Rodgers, of course, he's won a couple MVP awards, man. One of the greatest to ever do it at the position, obviously. We all know that. However, the Green Bay Packers need to understand this. Do not let Aaron Rodgers control you and run you. Like, the Packers have got to stand up for themselves at some point. And to me, they have to stand up for themselves and say, we're not going to let this guy keep, having us binded up here, it just it's just irrational to me. You're not gonna let this one guy control, the time and the pace at which we do things and decisions that we make, right? And that's the thing to me. And Aaron Rodgers, of course, in the Packers, they finished 8-9 this year and missed the playoffs, lost to the Lions in the last game of the year. A very, very good Detroit Lions squad and a team that's going to be, good in the coming years. I did a podcast on that yesterday. If you haven't checked it out, please go do that. Right here on this channel and also every podcast platform. But Aaron Rodgers finished with 3,695 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions on the year. Not a good season up for his standards. Obviously, he's a guy. He hasn't thrown less than 8 interceptions or more than 8 interceptions rather in a couple years. And he does that this year. When you trade away your number one receiver, that's and you're playing with young guys, young improving guys who still haven't gotten the groove of the NFL game yet. You got rookies out there, Romeo Dobbs, Christian Watson, who had a great season, by the way. Both of them had solid seasons. I got to give them their credit there. They play great football, especially in the later half of the year. But other than that, you didn't get much production offensively, out of that. In the backfield, Aaron Jones, your star running back, only had 2 rushing touchdowns the whole year. That's not going to cut it. He finished with 1,121 yards rushing, but he had only 2 touchdowns, and the Packers did not run the ball very much, this year. Compared to, as much as, at least with the idea that, you don't have very good receivers, so you would think they run the ball a little bit more, than what they did, but they didn't. So, for me, I'm just looking for Green Bay to just understand, and just make this known, hey, you know what? We're gonna if you're looking at Aaron Rodgers right now, okay, dude, I don't care if you're in a cave, I don't care if you're in, wherever you are on the Pat McAfee podcast show or wherever you are, I don't care where you are, we're gonna trade you for assets. We're going to start our young quarterback Jordan Love that we have waiting, that he's been waiting for a couple years now amidst all this drama going on with you, and we're gonna ship you off to somewhere where you can go play and you might have a better chance of winning the Super Bowl right away before you end your career. Because I do think Aaron Rodgers will play another season, in the league, and that might be the New York Jets. And it's looking like it might be. Now there are recent reports that came out that the franchise was disgusted with Rodgers and they wanted to move on for him, but then Tom Pelissero, a certified and trusted reporter for NFL Network, came out with a report today that those rumors were not true. They want him back in Green Bay. This is just too much. We go through it every year, and it's like, what? I don't know what's true, what's not. I don't know if they want Aaron Rodgers, but he wants to go hide in a cave like a bear in hibernation for however long, or then he wants to say, well, I don't know. I'm just kind of seeing how things go. Just he's all zen and he's just all you need more depth. You need more definitiveness, from your quarterback position, and Rodgers hasn't given that to the Packers the past couple of seasons. So it baffles me as to why you wouldn't keep somebody like that around. we understand how great of a player he is. Yeah, he won a Super Bowl. He's won a couple MVPs. He's an all time leading one of the an all time great. In that passing leader chart up there, he is up there. But I don't know, man. Like I don't know. With the Packers, I just don't get it. What is the end game here with Aaron Rodgers? You want to win a Super Bowl. You haven't been able to do that the past 3 or 2 years, like where you've had great rosters with Devontae Adams on the roster. You weren't able to do it. Um, you know, a solid defense that's been steadily improving. Getting guys in like Devondre Campbell and Preston Smith and Sendarius Smith the past couple years. Sendarius going to Minnesota, but keeping Preston Smith there, and having just building up this defense, which is the middle of the pack. They finished middle of the pack this season. Solid defense, tackling an issue early on, but they're coming around. So it's really a surprise to me as to why. Like you know, I don't know, man. Like the Packers, what they need to do is they need to first off, trade Aaron Rodgers, get some draft capital. Use that on a safety, maybe Brian Branch, guy out of Alabama that I know a lot of teams are looking at. He's a guy that can play that nickel quarter safety kind of role. He's a very hybrid type of guy. In Nick Saban's defenses, which you kind of have to be playing those defenses. So he's physical. He can make plays on the football. He's a very intelligent player. A guy I definitely see a lot of teams looking at, in the draft this upcoming April. But he's a guy I definitely would want to, just get a scouting report on if I'm the Packers, right? You need a safety back there. You definitely need a safety. I mean, it's just apparent, right? And you need a lot of things. Offensive tackle. You need receivers. You got Watson and Dobbs, but I would say a veteran receiver in free agency. Veteran, maybe a little bit better than Sammy Watkins. Okay, but get you a better receiver out there. There'll be a couple of them out there. Get you one from in free agency and have somebody for these young guys to learn around. For him to mentor them a little bit. And that's what I would look for there too. And just try to build around Jordan Love. I mean, this is obviously going to be a kind of, I won't say a rebuilding season for Green Bay, but maybe just like a recovery for them. Like, the recovery from all this nonsense with Aaron Rodgers, who I think, again, a huge ton of respect for, one all time greats, but just the drama and, the back and forth and, just the chain holding to the Packers that he's been doing. Like, the Green Bay Packers have got for once got to step up, pull up their pants and be like, hey, man, you know what? We're Aaron Rodgers, like, we're done with this. Like, we're going to trade you. We're going to trade you, and we're going to move on with our guy that we drafted. Because, look, they drafted Jordan Love for a reason, like, eventually you were going to put him in the game and you were going to start him. And they've been, according to reports, they've been pleased with his development. Now, he's grown as a player over the last couple of years that he's been here, been there in Green Bay. So that's something that you got to look at too. I mean, you have Jordan Love here. They've drafted him for a reason in the first round, and the Packers have not used a first round pick on a player, on an offensive player in quite some time before Love, and they did finally. And this is a guy you thought was going to be a receiver. Most people thought, like myself, I thought they were going to spend on a receiver, but they didn't. They went and got a quarterback, right? So it's like, you got to, at some point, man, you got to understand, like, okay, like, we got to move on. We're moving on from Aaron Rodgers, turning a new page. These fans want something different. I mean, they want something different. Yet they're at the same time they'll be willing to admit that yeah, you hadn't got him much help. You didn't give him much help. You didn't really get him. When you had Devontae Adams here, you didn't really give him that much help on the outside. And it kind of diminished our results in the postseason. And so now you're at a point where you're like, okay, we got to move on. We got to, roll with Jordan Love, trade him to the Jets. That'll be a good move for them. I really think it will be. I mean, it's just will seem like what it's going to be at this point, for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it's time to turn the page for the Packers. And it's time to stand up for yourselves and stand on what you believe in. And, hey, you know what? We're not going to deal with this anymore. We're not going to deal with you just binding us down to the floor here. Like, we're going to continue to move forward as a franchise, and continue to try to get to our ultimate goal, which is to win a Super Bowl. So that's what has to be done. Most definitely. But I mean, looking back on it for Green Bay this year, other than that, they had a good season. I mean, somewhat okay. Defense, of course, did the best they could. Made some timely plays. You want to add a few pieces here and there, as I mentioned earlier, but Offensively, you got to get some more help in there. Need more consistency from the running game outside of AJ Dillon. He had a good season, 7 rushing touchdowns on the year. Aaron Jones need more production out of him. They paid him. He's coming back, so you want him to, and also need the play calling to be a little bit better. Matt LaFleur has got to, the play calling's got to be better in certain situations for him. And that's something I think they'll look back and evaluate this offseason, as every team does, every staff does. They always evaluate everybody on the staff, all the players as well. And so Matt LaFleur has got to look back and say, okay, maybe I need to change some tendencies that I have, with my play calls, here and there in certain situations, because that might help me and the team, going forward, especially having a young quarterback coming in, a guy who hasn't played much, he's played sparingly, but he's going to be your full-time starter moving forward. So, that's like what I'm looking for them. But anyway, so that moves us on from the season in review segment for the Green Bay Packers, and now we're moving on to the around the league news, just to update you guys on everything that's going on in the NFL. So first off, Taylor Lewan, offensive tackle for the Titans, was released today, as well as wide receiver Robert Woods. He was also released. So two solid pickups, for any team in free agency. If Taylor Lewan decides to keep playing, I don't know if he's going to keep playing football. He's mentioned that he might retire. We don't know, right? So it's going to be one of those things, right? And for me, Robert Woods is still a good receiver. He put up like over, I want to say he had around 500 yards or so, maybe a little less than that. I may be completely wrong. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. 2 receiving touchdowns. He played sparing. He didn't play much. He didn't play too much, but he played enough. He played a good amount of snaps, and he's still a solid receiver. I mean, you remember when he was with the Rams, he was explosive. He was really good. Then he had that injury, but still a good, solid veteran out there. A guy that maybe the Packers should look into bringing in their locker room. He's a good locker room guy, a veteran in this league. He's played in some different offenses for Sean McVay. Now playing for Mike Vrabel and his team in Tennessee, and played for the Bills some time ago too. So he's been in a couple of different locker rooms. I mentioned this before on the other podcast, that you need guys like who are experienced. They've been in multiple locker rooms because they have a different taste of a variety of different, how to deal with different attitudes. They've been around different coaches, different, different strategies, different schemes. That's what you want. You want those variety players, on your team, because they can provide you insight on things that you might have not known completely about, right? That's the interesting thing about it. So that's why a lot of these franchises, a lot of these teams are looking for guys that have been on multiple, been with multiple areas, been in multiple teams, to bring in that level of not just the experience of being in the league, but being on different squads and being around different locker rooms, being around different players, different coaches, being in different vibes. That's what you want. If you're a coach, if you're an owner, if you're a general manager, that's what you want. That's what you're looking for. You need guys like that. Veterans are very important to championship teams. They're very important. You look at, I mentioned the Chiefs on the other podcast, Justin Reed, Chris Jones. They're very important veterans. Travis Kelce, a veteran. Patrick Mahomes, I don't consider him a veteran. He isn't technically, but he's the guys that have been around. Been around long enough. And they know they have situational awareness, which is very key in football. You need situational awareness. Be in the know what's going on, what down it is, what the time is on the clock, and where you are on the field, what down it is, what distance it is. Things like that. How many timeouts you got left, knowing how many timeouts your coaches have left, knowing how many timeouts the other coaches have left. Those are just key little things like that, can attribute to wins or losses, even championships, right? So that's what you're looking for. And to me, those are the big things that I think, the NFL is continuing to, a lot of these teams are continuing to improve on. It's wanting these guys that have that situational awareness, because it is extremely important. Not just in football and other sports too, but mainly in football. So, but yeah, that I mean, like I said, that pretty much, I mean, for the Packers, yeah, they, also in other news, Willie Taggart, the former head coach at FAU, is being hired. He's expected to be hired as the Baltimore Ravens running back coach. So the Ravens have hired Tom Munkin from Georgia to be their offensive coordinator. They've got Willie Taggart to be their running backs coach. So they're trying to build up a staff here. Still know they're going to do with Lamar Jackson and that franchise tag. I don't know. I really doubt Lamar plays on that tag, but he might go ahead and sign it, and then they might trade him. So who knows what's going to happen? Um, but I want to tell the Falcons fans out there, right there, like you guys, he's not coming to Atlanta. So just get that through your heads right now. I know we all want that to happen. Me being a Falcons fan myself, we all want that to happen. But Lamar Jackson, realistically, is not coming here because there's nothing promising about this. There's no other than a couple of players. Like the squad needs work. The team needs work. Um, and the Falcons have the second highest amount of cap space this year, other than the Bears, for agency. So, I wouldn't expect them to throw it all in one quarterback. You need to put that at different spots on the roster. Uh, Receiver, edge rushers, interior defensive lineman, maybe an offensive lineman, a cornerback if you need, so I'm just interested to see how this offseason is going to go. Like this, it keeps getting better and better every year, and then the drafts keep getting deeper and deeper each year, only at certain positions, but they still keep getting interesting. This class is pretty interesting. The quarterback class is not that deep. Um, I mean, you know, as far as like your number one boom or bust guys, like there it might go 4 or 5 deep, maybe six. But then your later rounds, you might have your Brock Purdy's in there somewhere. Who knows? You might have one of those. You don't know, right? So that's something that you want to keep an eye out on too. But the defensive players in this year's draft is pretty interesting, and we'll do a podcast as we move closer on to the draft. Obviously, covering all these players and predicting where they might land, and what team should take who, and so just be on the lookout for that. Stay tuned here on the podcast for that, guys. But that's going to pretty much wrap us up. So make sure you leave me your thoughts, your comments, your ideas. Should the Packers move on from Aaron Rodgers? Should they just go ahead and rip the band-aid off, get him done, be done with that? Let him go. Let him go be in a cave somewhere else in New York if he can find one. Um, should they be done with that, or should they keep him around? Like what's going to be the deal with him? Let me know what you think in the comments. And make sure you check us out here on Jay's With Down on YouTube, also on every podcast streaming platform. You can find us there. Follow us on the socials, IG, Twitter. We're there, TikTok, Jay's With Down Pod. Check us out. I'm your host, Jay Gable, once again, and we will see you guys next time.